Hey guys, welcome back to the Thirsty Mason. So, at the beginning of this year, if you recall, I did a wine tasting where I was hoping to see, does a $10 bottle of wine have the capacity to age for 10 years? And we learned that the Hardy Stamp of Australia $10 wine did in fact last the test of time. Even though it was a Cabernet Sauvignon and it did not have the characteristics of a Cabernet Sauvignon, it transformed it into a much lighter, much easier drinking form of red wine. And it was downright delicious. So I figured, let's double down. I went and won an auction for a 20-year-old bottle of Hardy's Merlot, Stamp of Australia. Hardy's is meant to be a $10 cheap bottle of wine. Meant to be just drunk as a table wine day in and day out. But after the success of the $10 10-year experiment, let's see, does Hardy's have the capacity to last 20 years? Now, in order to hedge my bets, I picked Merlot. Because if you recall, I always say that young Merlot has really rough and tough tannins. Whereas once it ages, I feel like it mellows out, even with the cheaper ones. So I'm hoping that that decision ends up being correct. It was nice and beautiful bottle of Hardy's. And you know what? The older it is, the more I realize they actually give you a region here. This is southeastern Australia. The more you know. Last time it was just purely a wine of Australia. Have a look at this colour. You got that beautiful colour of age. Holy moly! You know what? I think because it was such a large quantity of wine in this, like in volume, it actually yielded a much more concentrated wine. Because this is sitting twice as long, mind you, and it is darker. It's unbelievable. I can barely see my fingers through it. I get that beautiful, almost ruby to brown rim around the edge, showing that it is aged beautifully. And holy moly, you get a beautiful nose full of port. Oh, and peppers, a bit of cassis. Yes, Merlot is, whilst it's not my favourite wine as a young wine, it is hard to walk past it as an aged red. It has the most amazing capacity to age, mellow out, and just become so undeniably beautiful. Alright, it has dignity in age, it's got structure in age. It smells delightful. Okay, all the tannin has been stripped out of this. Whilst the nose is absolutely delightful, lush, juicy, on the tongue it is just too smooth to get down. It feels like it's just gone over the hill. It's nothing offensive, but on the same grounds, am I drinking a wine purely for the ease of getting it down? Or am I drinking it for the complexity that it brings? Because at the moment, this is just an obscenely easy drinking red that I don't have to worry about. It tastes a lot like a very nice cranberry juice. Like it's stripped off its character in its old age. It's not off, it's not corked. It just, the stuff that they put in there was not, I don't know, gutsy enough to begin with. This must have been, much easier to drink. I reckon that this is about 6 years off its best. Like, had this been popped 14 years in, I reckon it would have had a lot more character. But at 20 years, it's just mellowed out to the point where it's just too easy, too light, and a little bit flabby on the palate. Alright, it's just Don't get me wrong, it's enjoyable to drink. In fact, if I wasn't a wine drinker, I'd adore this. It's too smooth, very easy drinking. You know, I wouldn't even match this with food. In and of itself, it's a very, very light, easy drinking experience. But like, there's not even any tannin to dry out my tongue anymore. Everything that this wine was has kind of given up in its old age. Still, I reckon that me and my wife could probably enjoy this sitting by the fire, but I wouldn't write home about this whatsoever. Again, what can you expect for literally $20? But still, it shows it can age. It just, you shouldn't. There's not enough going on in the bottle in order to justify the aging of it. When would you age wine? This is actually an interesting topic. When would you age wine? This is where visiting wineries really helps. If you can taste their wine and it's a bit too much to deal with at the time, but you can tell that there's some major benefits in it, then I reckon that's the point where you can look at aging wine. The moment that you taste it and it tastes good when you drink it, I got a feeling that that isn't meant to last all that long. It's meant to be enjoyed in the short term. Long-term aging wines taste not that great at a young age. They don't need a lot of air, they don't need a lot of development. As it stands, this was meant to be drunk early, and having it sit this long has only diminished it over time. Alright, had I held out even one more year, it'd be like drinking water. Anyway, that finalizes it. Can $10 wine age 20 years? No, it can't. I reckon 14 years is at its absolute peak if you got it in a Magnum. At 10 years, yes, keep it in the smaller bottles. Anyway guys, thanks for watching. Hope you like, share and subscribe, and God bless.